Great, hi, this is Nick Williams, and I'm sitting here this afternoon with Brian Mills. Hi Brian, how you doing?
Hi Nick, I'm fine, thank you.
Good. We've known each other for over 10 years, so we're going to have 2 or 3 conversations about how Brian's inspired me over the last 10 years or so. When I first met Brian, he was an underground ticket collector, is that right?
Absolutely correct, yeah.
And here we are today, 10 years later, on a houseboat on the River Thames called Tag's Island, is the island that the houseboat's on. It's called Archangel, your houseboat. If you can see, we've got the River Thames out there. It's a most beautiful, idyllic spot, and a little bit different from East Ham, where you were living 10 years ago in the East End of London. So we're going to talk about your kind of journey of transformation over the last 10 years. So, yeah, you're an underground ticket collector, and I'll just tell you this funny story I remember Brian telling me once, because Brian's been into kind of spiritual stuff for a long time, and he said, I've got to the point where I could tear tickets with awareness, I could tear tickets with a smile on my face, I could tear tickets mindfully, but I was fed up with tearing tickets. Isn't that right?
Absolutely.
So what happened?
Absolutely. Well, basically, yeah, I was working at Temple Underground Station, and I quite enjoyed the job, you know, mainly because I like meeting people. But I thought, you know, sort of, I was very much into spiritual work, and I was attending a workshop of, you know, sort of Doreen Virtue. Got very interested.
Doreen Virtue is an angel therapist. Who's
yeah,
a big trainer of people.
Yeah, and basically, I got. She said, you know, if anybody's interested, I'm doing a workshop in America in February. If anybody would like to come along, I'd love to see you. So I was waiting at the door, saying, "Yeah, sign me up. I want to go." You know, and basically that's when my life began to really change.
So that workshop sounded like it reconnected you to something in
yourself.
It
did. I mean, actually, and it was that reconnection, as you say, Nick. Because when I went out there, what happened was that Doreen really sort of had the workshop, which was awakening a psychic ability that you had. And we're all psychic, you know, we all have that psychic ability. But I had it really 100-fold when I was a kid, around about 8 to 10.
So you remember having that as a child?
I do. I remember having it, but I didn't know how to use it because it scared the life out of me. Because basically, I knew what anyone was going to say for about the next 10 minutes. Never knew when it was going to happen, but I knew word for word, and even if they're going to move their arm or something, I would know.
Really? Wow.
Oh yeah. But I'll say it scared me. I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't tell my parents, and Doreen says that's because of that you then froze it, you know. And
so you had a gift, but you didn't use it.
I didn't use it. That's right. Okay. And because she then sort of brought that all out again. And that was it. But then, you know, everybody was the same. Everybody was there on the course.
So you reconnected with that childhood gift that you
absolutely.
So tell me about the dream that you had, because part of what I wanted to hear, let you hear Brian talking about, was your childhood dream of actually living here.
Yeah, I wanted to always, you know, sort of live on the river, and particularly on a houseboat. And I didn't realise, you know, sort of again, what that was all about until when, again, on the underground, a friend of mine who's had a newspaper called Tommy Moss, and he handed me this paper in the Evening Standard, and it says an article, it says, on that place where you go, he says, you know, he says, where is it? I'm like, Hampton? So I said, yeah, I'll go down to Hampton. I was living in East Ham, but I had therapy friends down in Hampton, and he says, it was all about that. But when I read the article, it wasn't. It was actually about people living on houseboats. And then my memory came back when I was a kid, when I was ill and had to go to convalescence down to Canby Island and South End on Sea, and you had to get off at Benfleet and walk along Benfleet Creek, and because you pass these houseboats, which I'd never seen before. And I remember asking my mum, why do those people have curtains up at the window? And she said, because people live on them. They're called houseboats. And because as a kid, you know, I thought, great, you know, that's great. I could, you know, have a boat. I could live on a boat. Wouldn't have to live in a brick house. And I could fly the Jolly Roger and make out I'm a pirate. You know, it'd be brilliant.
And there you are. So you reconnected with that childhood dream. So how did you get from East Ham ticket collector to living on a houseboat on Tag's Island?
Right, yeah. Well, basically what happened, after I saw, you know, I read that article, there was a website of this island. Went on the website when I got home and saw they had a B&B, and I thought, okay, I'm going to give myself a present, which I've never had, you know, when I wanted to, you know, that dream when I was a kid, and I thought I'm going to book myself on that B&B, and so I rang the B&B, and this was July, and I said, you know, I want to, you know, sort of book, and I want to make sure these are the dates, because I wanted to wake up on my birthday on a houseboat. And he said, well, he says that's August. He said, no, he says, yeah, I won't be able to give you August. He says, that's my busiest time. And then I said, no, it's got to be then. So I said, look, he said, let me just check my dial. I'll try and give you as near as I can. And he went away and then came back and he said, what dates did you want? And I said, I want the 27th and 28th of August. He says, oh, how strange. He says, I've had a cancellation. They're the two dates. Wow. Now, that was the first thing that began, that flow, because then everything came into, you know, sort of force from that moment.
Right.
You know,
so you came here and stayed on a B&B for a couple of months.
I stayed on a B&B, I came, and I when I got home to East Ham, I had a call from Gillian, who owns quite a number of boats on here, and she said, I understand you came to the island recently and fell in love with it. I wonder if you be interested to know that I'm selling a boat, and I want to sell it quickly because I need to sell it before I go to Australia. Would you be interested in looking at it? And because I jumped at the chance, so I came, and it was on this boat, of course, looked at the boat, you know, fell in love with it. I thought, wow, this is amazing. This is where the angels came into play, because, you know, I thought, well, you know, I don't have the money, which is a big thing. I don't have the money, you know, and I thought, so how is this going to come about? And I walked around the island, and there's a park bench there on the island, and I sat on the bench and meditated, and just called in the angel of manifestation to manifest my dream, and the angel for abundance to bring me the money to provide it. And what happened then was just a miracle, because I mean, literally the next, I said to Gillian, I said, you know, she says, I need the money up front. She says, otherwise I won't be able to, you know, sort of.
And you can't get a mortgage on a house.
You can't get a mortgage, no. And I said, well, there's the problem. I said, I haven't got the money. I said, you know, I said, and I said, but, you know, I love it. I said, but I don't know how I'm going to get it. I said, but I haven't got the money. But if I'm meant to have it, I'll have it. So she said, and there is one other thing. She says, I've got another person who's fallen in love with the boat, and he's wants it, and he'll give me his answer on Tuesday. So I said, okay.
Nothing like a bit of pressure.
I know, that's right. So what happened was, that was on the Sunday I saw the boat. Then the next day, Monday, I go to work, and I'm at East Ham Station, and I see a woman I haven't seen for years, a booking clerk. And she said, what are you doing, Brian, now? I said, well, to be quite honest with you, I don't know. I think my life is in transition. So
had you retired then?
No, I'm still working,
Yeah.
And so she said, really? So she said, well, what are you doing then? I said, well, I think I'm moving. She said, you're selling your house? I said, yes. She said, what have you got? I said, a 3-bedroom house. She said, really? She said, well, we're living with our in-laws. Can we have a look at it? I said, yes, absolutely. I said, what about tonight? So she came round and looked at it with her husband and fell in love with it, wanted it straight away. So I said, okay. And she said, how much is it? And I didn't have a clue. So I just gave her a ballpark figure. And she said, we'll have it, right? So then I said, great. So then next day, of course, I ring this on Tuesday morning. I ring Gillian and said, I've got a buyer for my house. Now that obviously impressed her, because she knew, I mean, my house wasn't even on the market, you know, so she was pretty impressed with that. And I said, yeah, I've got that. So, and I said, but what about, I said, there is one thing, she can't afford the full amount, she would need a mortgage. And then Gillian said, well, what I'll do is I'll have a word with my solicitor, and we'll arrange to accept a deposit. And then I asked about the other guy, and who wanted it, and she said, I had a call from him this morning. And I said, and? She said, he can't make a decision and see the boat until Thursday, so she said, I'm going with you.
Oh, wow. So isn't that amazing? So that's how you got to live here.
Absolutely.
So this was the beginning of a new chapter of your life, and you've got 2 other great passions, which we're going to have another conversation about in a minute. So your 2 passions are kind of, you know, your angel work, and we'll talk more about that. And you've also had a lifelong passion for film, and we're going to talk about how you've taken your passion for film and turned it into 2 books, and
absolutely.
writing off going to the cinema regularly as tax-deductible expenses, so all sorts of great things.
So
let's finish off this conversation for now. So just one thing to finish off. Anybody watching this who has a childhood dream, what would be a tip that you would give them? Because you've manifested a childhood dream in where you're living here on this beautiful place on the Thames here. What one tip would you have for anybody watching this?
Never let go of that dream. never let go of it. You know, it doesn't matter. Don't let any excuses stop you from having that dream and living it. You know, so because there are excuses. So don't, you know, whether it's no, I won't be able to do it. I haven't got the right education. I haven't had that, you know, sort of thing. I don't meet the right people. You know, I haven't got the money. They're all excuses. You can do anything you want, and so all you have to do is reconnect with the dream and believe you can do it and know you can do it.
And believe that there's help for you, presumably.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
you're not alone.
Yeah, the thing is, you can always, the key to it is you can always tell if your things are right and are moving right. They will happen quickly, as they did for me.
Okay.
All doors open quickly.
Brilliant. Okay, well, let's wrap this part of the conversation up. Thank you very much indeed for watching this. Hope you found it interesting and inspiring. Hope you love the view. If you ever want to come to Tags Island, it is beautiful. Come and have a look around. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Nick.